In this video, we're going to talk about word naming conventions in Rebel, and it's really pretty straightforward. Uh, when you're trying to name a variable or a function or whatever it might be, the best thing is to use the shortest word that you possibly can that communicates the meaning. Shorter is better. With that said, the recommendation is also to use whole words where possible. Don't abbreviate. I kind of sit on the fence there. There's some pros and cons to both things. I mean, having one letter variables is probably not good. But for example, if you're in the industry and you're doing something with a machine, this is coming from the atronics industry, where you're dealing with temperatures. Spelling out temperature in your variable name, that's a really long name. You could shorten it to temp and put a comment in there specifying that's what it means. Anybody looking at your program that knows what type of application this is going to immediately pick up on the fact that, yeah, temp means temperature. Maybe a junior engineer will think it's referring to a temporary variable or something, but comments usually help clarify that. So there's middle ground there for using whole words rather than abbreviations. But short words are definitely better. And if you have to use two words, absolutely the Rebel recommendation for that, the community recommendation, is to use hyphens. So, for example, getting back to our temperature example, if we're going to set a temperature, if it's a function, set temp, set dash temperature, set dash temp. That's definitely the way that you want to combine words together rather than using underscores or proper case or camel case or any of those other types of naming or conventions. So the dash in between two words in a Rebel name, that's going to be very, very common. Along those lines, as far as naming is concerned, if you have a function name, it should probably be a verb. Data type words should begin with a noun. So, for example, set dash temperature, fire dash solenoid, and then for the name of the solenoid, you could just say solenoid dash 1001, or if it had some numeric label to it, barrel dash 1 dash temp. Coming from the plastics industry, dealing with extruders, you've got barrel and die temperatures. Just trying to do some practical examples here. So, fire dash solenoid. Let's just type that out. That's how it should look with the dash. Another thing about that is if you're going to do underscores in other languages, if you're going to do proper casing or whatever, practically what are you doing there? You're typing extra keystrokes as well, because you got to hit that shift key. You got to hit the shift key for an underscore. You got to hit the shift key to capitalize something. So the other thing is lowercase short names, hyphens between words, being able to categorize your functions, with English verbs, and data words with nouns. These are all good practices. You don't have to follow them. There's no enforcement of any of that. But it's definitely a good practice, and also you're saving on keystrokes. If you notice in Rebel, there's other places where you wonder, well, why didn't they use curly braces? Why are they using square brackets? Well, to get a curly brace like in C, you got to hit the shift key. So really, if you follow these practices and when you're working in Rebel, you're typing fewer characters. At the end of the day, you're typing fewer characters. And another thing along the lines of the minimalism in Rebel. Not only does it look visually appealing, and I think Rebel code looks beautiful actually. But you're typing fewer keystrokes. You don't have all those commas in there. You don't have those semicolons in there. You have fewer parentheses. Parentheses are in there. They have a very important function, as we'll see in future videos, how you can use code that's in, or data that's in parentheses. But we've already seen it for grouping mathematical expressions, but there's a lot more you can do with it. But you tend to use it less than you use blocks. Blocks are, almost every line of Rebel has a block in it somewhere. So At the end of the day, you're typing fewer keystrokes, your code is beautiful, and from a physical health point of view, you're decreasing your chance of a repetitive stress injury. I'm going to be turning, in my own case, I'm going to be turning 50 years old this year. I have been coding since I was 14, back in the early 80s. And, knock on wood, I still don't have any problems with my hands. And part of that, and I've been coding in Rebol specifically for a little over 10 years right now. And part of that is, I think, as I get older, is programming in Rebol, fewer keystrokes, and also using Linux over things like Windows, because in the Linux OS, you tend to type more than to use the mouse. So I use the mouse less than the average Windows user would. So I think all these things together, it's good for your health. Thank you for watching.